The AWARE Project's aim is to balance the public conversation about psychedelics, spread accurate information, and give a new face to psychedelia. We feel that this change will occur through connection and relationship, one individual at a time. We are calling on everyone whose lives have been improved through the mindful use of psychedelics to educate themselves and become ambassadors for the psychedelic experience. Show those around you that people who use psychedelics mindfully cross all social, racial, economic, and political boundaries.
Welcome to the AWARE Project. If this is your first time here, I'm Ashley. I'm the founder of the AWARE Project. We're a Southern California-based psychedelic society. We have events here in Los Angeles and in San Diego. We do them monthly. And we have topics ranging from the science of legalization to medicine work to ayahuasca to microdosing and everything in between. We're coming up on 5 years of events. And it's just wild. And we have all of our events on YouTube, so any possible topic you can think of, we've got there. So highly recommend checking that out. Another organization, our sister organization, is called Inner Space Integration, which is a group that provides psychedelic integration services, preparation and integration services for the community. So we have community integration circles in different places all over the city and in San Diego. And we also have a network of integration support providers that provide everything from licensed psychotherapy to body work to hypnotherapy and everything in between. So highly recommend checking that out. We want to support the movement of people getting the support that they need and the education that they need to be able to make good decisions as they navigate this world that we're all discovering together. To that same end, the AWARE Project has put together a Sitting Safe Guide, which is a multi-installation guide for people entering into medicine space or facilitated psychedelic work in the underground, and it's to help people make good choices as they move into the space. So good questions to ask yourself before moving into this work, good questions to ask a facilitator you might be sitting with, good questions they should be asking you, and all sorts of other things. So it's a good place to get your bearings, especially if you're new to this world. We have a lot of people that are very experienced in many different aspects, so we're a wealth of knowledge. So please read all the resources and talk to your community and ask questions. So that's my public service announcement. The other thing I just wanted to say is it's Timothy Leary's birthday today. So happy birthday, Timothy Leary. You were controversial, but you're a definite force in this crazy world that we're creating. So just kind of calling in that, a moment to recognize how far we've come. And how many, and what a roller coaster it's been. And also, something that we like to be thinking about in our community here is from here where, technical difficulties, where do we want to go from here? Because if we're not envisioning what the future looks like, how are we going to create it? So, or someone else is going to create it. So really important to be thinking about how do we want to impact and how do we want the world to medicine work, and how do we want to, very fancy, great. How do we want to, envision what this new world could look like, and what can we do from this place that we're standing in now. And how do we, even down to just how do we treat people on a day-to-day basis, how do we treat ourselves as we envision what the future looks like. So, thank you. Oh yeah, if you didn't see our mailer that came out this morning, Chicago, I'm still like, hasn't really sunk in. Chicago apparently decriminalized entheogens last week, just like Oakland. It's the same group, Decriminalize Nature, that had a group in Chicago, apparently. I don't think the mass media has picked it up yet, because there's just nothing out there. We just had the couple little things. So the repercussions of that are a little unclear at this point, but that would mean that, so just a little bit about the decriminalization movements. It's basically, we're not legalizing anything, but we're just making it such that on either a state or a city level that cops will basically put the least amount of effort into penalizing or arresting people for possession of entheogens, which includes cactuses, fungi, other natural materials, so unclear if that goes to things that come from amphibians. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So you still technically can't sell these things, but you can possess them. And then there's like a lot of gray area around, like, you know, could somebody be a psychedelic underground therapist? You know, I mean, you still can't sell it. So, you know, this future that we're creating is happening very fast. You know, it's slow, and now it's very fast. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this moves forward. If you guys saw the buttons out front, there is a group here that's based in LA that is working to create a ballot measure to decriminalize psilocybin containing mushrooms here in California. So that's huge. So if you want to get involved in something that's like on the ground, working towards, you know, one step in the legalization process, highly recommend checking out their website and getting involved. They need lots of help. It's going to be a big push, but it's getting a lot of media attention, so it's at least starting a good conversation. So, yeah, lots of big things that have been happening. Yeah, and Time Magazine and 60 Minutes just had big articles on psychedelic medicines recently too. So, so much is happening. So stay tuned. We're so glad that you guys are here. So we're super excited to have Sage here. She is going to share with us an experiential and informative evening, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to help. You know, one of the things about living in LA is that all of our nervous systems are so shot,
right?
That creating spaces to be able to come back to ourselves and remember and to get into our voices and our hearts and into rhythm. So I'm really excited. So
perfect.
Yeah, everyone, welcome to Sage.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Well, welcome everyone. I'm super glad to be here, and I'm glad that you're all here because I'm really pleased to be sharing a practice that has brought so much joy and healing into my world. And I just love when people are interested and I can tell them more about it. So as Ashley was saying, we can get grounded. Just feel your feet on the floor and feel the chair supporting you. Take a couple of deep breaths, slow breaths. Okay, so it is going to be both an informative and an experiential evening. So I'm going to start by telling you a bit about shamanism and my experience with that, and then we'll move into the experiential portion. So you have a little outline there, because I am going to be moving through quite a bit of material, so wanted you to have something to refer to in case you started to feel like it was a lot. So shamanism is really the oldest healing methodology on the planet, and it's been practiced on every continent for tens of thousands of years. And it's still practiced today in many traditional cultures. But it's also been lost over the years, and it's been suppressed because it can be threatening to the status quo, much like entheogens, because it is a direct revelation method. with spirit. But shamanism has been having a resurgence in recent decades, and part of that is due to the work of an anthropologist named Michael Harner. And Dr. Harner studied shamanic cultures from around the world and discovered that they shared a core set of beliefs and practices. And he distilled these into what he called core shamanism, and he began teaching Westerners in the modern world about core shamanism in workshops. So my teacher was one of his students. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about what some of those core beliefs and practices are, and then give you a couple of examples. Okay, so in shamanic cultures, it's believed that in addition to the physical realm that we all walk through and use our five senses, there is also a spiritual realm. Okay, so everything in the physical realm has a spirit. So I have a spirit, you all have spirits, plants, trees, rocks, this building has a spirit. Okay, and in addition to that, there is a spirit realm that has spirits that aren't connected to anything in the physical world, at least not at the present time. And those spirits can be very loving and compassionate spirits that have an interest in human affairs. So in core shamanism, we call the physical realm that we use our five senses ordinary reality. And we call the spirit realm non-ordinary reality. Okay? So a shaman is one who goes into non-ordinary reality, enters into an altered state to meet with helping spirits with whom he or she has developed a strong relationship, and brings back to the community from those spirits healing, information, and power. So can bring back that to the community and to individuals. So let's talk about some of the methods, the common healing methods that are used in shamanism. So one is soul retrieval. So when a person has some trauma, be it emotional or physical, from a shamanic perspective, a part of their soul leaves their body, part of their life force. And that's called soul loss in shamanism. And in psychology, it's called dissociation. And it's actually a brilliant survival mechanism, because if the whole person was there to receive the brunt of that trauma, it might have been unendurable at that time in their life. Another way that soul loss can occur is that the soul can be sort of eroded away from chronic unhealthy conditions like a soul-sucking job, which I used to have, a dysfunctional or abusive relationship. So the soul can be eroded away that way. And some of the symptoms commonly experienced in soul loss are feeling disconnected, feeling spacey, unable to move forward in life, chronic depression, anxiety, these sorts of things, fibromyalgia. And the remedy for that is that the shaman goes into non-ordinary reality and with their spirit helpers retrieves the person's soul part that is lost and brings it back to their body. Now, that concept of going with the helping spirits is very important, because the shaman is the hollow bone. It's really the helping spirits that are bringing the healing to the person. So that's a big part of this. So whenever I'm talking about the shaman doing this or that, it's really the helping spirits that are doing the healing work. Okay? Now, I should say that in core shamanism, So I went to one of the healing methods, but I forgot to say that many shamans use entheogens to enter the altered state. But in core shamanism, and also in many shamanic cultures around the world, we use a sonic driving at 2 to 3 beats per second. And that puts the mind into a theta wave state. Okay, and that allows the shaman to enter into non-ordinary reality where they and the spirits, helping spirits, have access to one another. Okay. So we talked about soul retrieval. Another common method is extraction, shamanic extraction. So when there's an opening in the person's energy field, there is a space for an energy that doesn't belong there to enter. Okay? And it's not that it's an evil or bad energy, it's just misplaced. And that can cause problems for the person, localized problems like localized pains, perhaps trouble breathing, rashes, infections that won't go away, tumors, that sort of thing. So the shaman lets the helping spirits use their body to extract those energies from the person's body. And then the helping spirits will take those energies, disarm them, bring them to the spirit realms where they can't harm anyone. Okay? So that is shamanic extraction. Third one I want to talk to you about is called cord cutting. So at times we can have an unhealthy, energetic entanglement with another person. And in that case, we might be unable to move on from that relationship when we want to, or unable to forgive that person, or maybe we feel like we're feeling their feelings. You know, that happened to me a lot with my mom in the past before I received some healings where I was feeling her pain, you know. So in that case, the shaman will go with their helping spirits and cut those unhealthy energetic cords between the client and that other person. So those are 3 common shamanic healing methods. There's lots of others, you know, there's so many techniques. I'll just name a few just to pique your interest. There's power animal retrieval, divination, spirit depossession. So those are just to name a few. There's lots of them, okay? So I want to talk a little bit about my apprenticeship, because a lot of healing went into my apprenticeship. So I apprenticed for multiple years with Paula Denham in Sacramento. That's where she had founded the Sacramento Shamanic Center. And that consisted of meeting every 2 weeks with an apprentice circle, assisting with healings that Paula was doing, and participating as a healer in monthly open healing sessions that she has at her home. She opens her home to anyone in the community to come to her home and receive shamanic healing in a group setting by donation basis. And so I would participate in that. Now, the reason that the apprenticeship lasts several years, it's not because, you know, things are particularly difficult to learn. The important goal is to become a hollow bone. And that takes the work. That takes receiving healing from other shamans. It takes a lot of work with one's own helping spirits to deal with one's own ego issues, one's past trauma, any filters that might get in between the helping spirits and the clients. Because those need to be set aside when the healing happens. So that requires a lot of work. And in my case, like many people, I am of the wounded healer archetype. I had a very difficult, traumatic childhood and young adulthood that left me with a lot of scars. I had chronic depression, anxiety. I wound up in that soul-sucking job I mentioned. I was in a dysfunctional, emotionally abusive marriage. lots of those things. And as a result of working with other shamans, working with my helping spirits, with the guidance of my teacher Paula, guiding me along that, I just have this wonderful connection that I feel with life and with the beauty that's around me. I feel like I belong on this planet. For a long time I didn't feel that way. I get along with, I have a job that suits me well. I have a happy marriage. So my life has just changed very dramatically. A very specific example I'll give you is that there were times when I went for years without communicating at all with my mother. It was just too painful for me. She was so triggering. I just couldn't do it. So I am now in the process of planning a multi-day camping trip with my mother. And other family members who I've historically had a difficult relationship. So that is really would have been unheard of before my work. And I did complete my shamanic initiation, which was an amazing experience as well. So that's a bit about the apprenticeship. Now I want to talk to you about shamanic teaching. So Michael Harner, who developed the core shamanism and started teaching that to Westerners in the modern world, he also developed what he called shamanic counseling. And that was a method whereby the shaman will train others to journey into non-ordinary reality, to build a relationship with their helping spirits in order to solve their own personal problems and receive healing and guidance from their own helping spirits. Now, this generally takes about 10 sessions to have the goal met of the person being able to journey independently. And it's not that it's difficult to get into non-ordinary reality with the drumbeat or meet one's helping spirits. What the role of the teacher is to help the client to develop effective intentions. So every journey needs to have a very clear and specific intention. We don't just go off into non-ordinary reality and kind of wander around. We need to have a specific intention that will bring us clear information. Okay? And it also, we help the client to interact with the helping spirits in a way that will build the trust between them. And then integrate the experiences into their life. And if they're on track, let them know, you know, this is a classic experience. You're on the right track. If they're not on track, getting them back on track. So that's, so what I'm going to do with you now is a very abbreviated version of the first teaching session that I would do with a client, teaching them how to journey into non-ordinary reality for their own personal reasons. And it's also one of the first journeys that you would do if you went to a core shamanism workshop. Okay? So what we're going to do tonight is we are going to journey to meet a spirit animal. Okay? Now some of you may have already met spirit animals. If you have, that is wonderful, and I invite you to be open to whoever appears tonight. So let me ask you, how many of you have done a journey to a sound, a beat? Wow, lots of folks. Okay, excellent. Awesome. So in core shamanism, there are 3 realms of spirit. There are the upper and lower worlds, which are composed of compassionate, loving spirits. The upper world is generally, but not exclusively, spirits in human form, or nearly human form. They are our teachers. And the lower world is generally, though not exclusively, animal spirits. Now the middle world is populated with the spirits of everything that we see. In addition, there can be spirits that aren't necessarily as altruistic or well-developed, which could be spirits of deceased persons that have not moved on to their next phase of their existence. So we are going to go to the lower world. And when we go to the lower world, we start at a place in ordinary reality that you've actually been to that has an opening in the earth. So this could be a tree with roots going into the earth. It could be a cave, a crater. I go into a lake in the High Sierra that I just love that lake. I dive in, go down, because in non-ordinary reality you can breathe underwater. You can breathe in the earth because the laws of physics don't apply. So you go down from that place in ordinary reality at an angle like so until you find a tunnel. Now the tunnel could have stairs. It could be something that you crawl down on your hands and knees. It could be something you slide down. Okay? And if you get stuck, you're always going to restate your journey intention. And your intention is, I am going to the lower world to meet my spirit animal. Okay, so that's going to be your intention. I'm going to the lower world to meet my spirit animal. And you're going to keep going down this tunnel, and you'll come to an opening into a landscape. Okay, it could be any landscape. Beach, forest, jungle, meadow, etc. And you may meet an animal at the opening of the landscape, or you may need to go exploring in the lower world in order to find your animal. Or you might see a bunch of animals. If that's the case, then the one that is your animal will show itself to you in at least 4 ways. So you may see it in profile, then you see it coming towards you, then you may get a close-up of it, like one eyeball or one whisker and so forth. Okay, so 4 ways, and that's your spirit animal. Now when you've identified an animal, and if you haven't, you can keep walking and calling out with your heart. You know, my name is Sage. My heart wants to meet you. Please show yourself. I've come to meet my spirit animal. Okay? So you're going to call out with your heart, looking for this animal. And once you've identified one, and you ask it if it's indeed your spirit animal, and if you get an affirmative answer, you then have 2 questions for this journey. And the first question is, what can I call you? And it may just be, you can call me bear or raven or whatever that animal happens to be. Or it may give you a name. And the second question is, why did you choose me? Okay, because it is the animal that chooses you. It is not you deciding what your animal is going to be. Because the animal that comes to you is generally going to have gifts and powers that are going to be useful to you in facing whatever challenges you have in your life. Okay, so the animal is choosing you and bringing you its gifts. All right? Now you're going to be journeying to a drum beat. Okay, like I was saying, it's a beat of 2 to 3 beats per second, and it puts your brain into a theta wave state, so that's where you are accessible to the spirits, and they are accessible to you. And there's also going to be a callback signal. Okay, and the callback signal goes like this. So it's 4 sets of 7 beats, and then there's traveling music, which is like this, really fast. Okay? When you hear the 4 sets of 7 beats, that means it's time to say thank you to your animal and come on back up through the tunnel, the same way you went down, all the way back up to your starting place in ordinary reality. Now, a couple things I want to say about this is you're going to start with your imagination, your visualization, right? You're going to visualize yourself going down, and so forth. But the spirits will meet you at the edge of your imagination and take you beyond that. And some people ask, well, how do I know this whole thing isn't just my imagination? And one thing I'll say is, if it works for you, which it certainly worked for me, does it matter? Does it matter? Other things that I'll say is that things that happen in a journey, folks will often say, well, I wouldn't have or couldn't have made that up. And then finally, I will say that you may experience messages in ordinary reality. So, for example, you may find a feather in ordinary reality from a bird that you received a message from in a journey. And you find that feather right at the very moment when you most need to be reminded of that message. And things like that have happened to me quite often. Another thing I'll say is that you may have various emotions arise. You may have feelings. Some people are more visual, some are more auditory, some are more kinetic, and that's all good. You know, that's totally normal. If you don't find an animal, that's perfectly fine as well. Sometimes they're teaching us patience. That's a very common lesson that they have for us. So I will go over all this again because I know it was a lot, because I'm not going to be talking while I'm drumming. You're just going to be doing this on your own. So I know that's a lot. So I will go over that recap again. But I do want to ask if at this moment there are any questions. Yes.
Is it beneficial to try and stay still, or because I kind of tend to be twitchy because I have a spinal injury? But is it you trying to let go of the body, or is it okay to move the music?
It's fine if you feel to move. I mean, as long as you're, not disturbing your neighbors, it's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would like to just be rocking, but I don't want to like to be the only person rocking. But
no, it's
we can rock when the music.
So that's a good point that you brought up, because I've had someone, not. So when I do a regular session, I actually have the person listen to a headphones, and then they speak what's happening. They actually speak what's happening. And I'll have someone who has really long periods of silence. And when I asked afterwards what was going on, they said, well, this was happening and that was happening, but I thought that my mind was wandering, because they're used to mindfulness meditation, right? And mindfulness meditation, you're, trying to not let your mind wander. You're trying to really focus it. And I'll say that, you're focused as you're going down into non-ordinary reality with your imagination. But once you get there, you want to let the animal lead. Okay, so whatever happens is information for you. You see, you're not, in this highly focused state trying to go somewhere or do something. You're letting the animal lead, right? So it's different from, you don't have to try to not move anything, or, it's not like that. Any other questions?
Do the animals usually share their what their gifts are with you?
Yes. So that's when you ask, why did you choose me? Now, they may not say in words, or they may. We don't know. Everybody's different. They may show you things as well. You may feel things. You may feel emotions. We don't know. Yeah.
How long is the session for?
So we're going to journey for 12 minutes. Okay? So let me recap. Let me just make sure that, who has an eye curtain, or an eye covering? Does anybody, I see a couple people that brought an eye covering. Okay, because the eye covering can help you to enter the altered state. The other thing is that when we're finished, I don't think that everyone's going to have time to share with the group. I hope that some people will be willing to share with the whole group. But I do want to give everyone an opportunity to share with at least one other person in the room. So go ahead and also this is, an invitation. If there's anybody that doesn't feel to do this journey, it's certainly voluntary, okay? So you don't have to do it, obviously. But if you are planning to do it, go ahead and identify someone, your neighbor, that you're going to share this with afterwards. And you can share as much or as little as you like, okay? So, does anybody not have someone they can share it with afterwards? Okay, because it can be a very powerful experience, and sharing it will help you integrate it. And also, you may want to jot down some notes. So I did leave you some space on that paper where you could jot down some notes. I don't know if you have pens or something to write on, but that also can be really helpful as well. Bless you. Okay, so I'm just going to recap how it's going to go. You're going to put your eye coverings on if you brought them and if you feel comfortable doing that. And then you're going to repeat your journey intention to yourself silently 4 times. And your intention for tonight is, I am going to the lower world to meet my spirit animal. So you'll repeat that silently to yourself 4 times. Then you'll be starting at a place in ordinary reality that you've actually been that has an opening into the earth. Does anybody not have a starting place yet? Okay, because I want to make sure everyone knows what their starting place is going to be. Okay, you're going to travel down into the earth at an angle until you come to a tunnel. You'll go down the tunnel until you come to a landscape. You will search for your animal, call out with your heart. Ask any animal that you meet if it's your spirit animal. When you get an affirmative, you can ask, what can I call you? And why did you choose me? And let the animal lead. And then when you hear the callback signal, you're going to come all the way back up, all the way back into the ordinary reality place where you started. Okay? So again, let's just get relaxed.
What was the intention again? Sorry.
The intention is, I am going to the lower world to meet my spirit animal. So again, take a couple deep breaths, slow breathing, and relax your body. I'm going to set a timer here. Okay, so repeat your intention silently to yourself 4 times. I'm going to the lower world to meet my spirit animal. And now I'm going to start drumming. Welcome back. All the way back into your body. And take your eye coverings off if you haven't already. Excellent. Take a couple minutes to jot down some notes. The people that were in partnerships to share, one person raise your hand. Okay, you're going to share first. So, you know, it might get a little loud. You can move to different areas of the room if you'd like. Any questions? Any questions? Would anybody be willing to share some of their experience?
Sure. Nobody's going to do it. Opportunity knocks, right? I was just sharing stuff. So what part? Because it's kind of, a whole journey.
Well, I guess what stands out the most for you?
Well, I mean, my spirit animal is a hairless mole rat named Queen, named Angel. And she was incredibly sweet and gave me a really good, big download. Like, it was awesome and made a lot of sense. Initially, I went through a lot of fear in the descent. Like, I was sweating and like, and I went through all kinds of expectations. And at first, I encountered a vulture. And a barren wasteland, and I'm like, oh no, don't show me something dead. This is my great fear. And I'm like, you'll be my spirit animal. I'm like, oh, I flew up to her and said, are you my spirit animal? She's like, follow me. And so,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So she brought you.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then thankfully, because I was like, oh, where is she taking me back to? Want me to go back into the earth? I'm like, no, I don't want to see anything dead. And then these two pink little butterflies were escorting like this. I'm like, okay, so all right, just breathe. You can go back into the earth. And there was the hairless mole rat. She was in her little breeding palace. Chilling, very much like a queen bee.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard of people, they want to go and they want to get a tiger or something like that, and they get a worm. And they're like, a worm? What? And the worm has things to teach them about being close to the earth, about recycling, sort of compost into good things. So, yeah, it can be interesting. So, I'm glad you were open to the naked mole rat.
Oh yeah, it was a huge download. It was like really? Like I thought it had been like an hour. I'm like, is this ever ending? Because it was almost like a space-time continuum then, because you just went boom, and it was like, wow, expansion and burrowing and socializing and organization and cleanliness, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, we get a lot.
For a week. Going, really, that can happen in that weird bend zone.
Get a lot in that period of time, exactly.
And chewing through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Apparent barriers. She said something like that. Getting through apparent barriers. Very, very cheeky, funny.
Yeah, there's gophers in my yard, and they will get through anything. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. 650 pounds per square inch of pressure with their jaw. Like they can actually chew through steel.
Wow.
I'm like, yay!
I did not know that.
Rocket spirit animal.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Anyone else?
Yay!
I met a black serpent. I was kind of like in a mossy field, laying on my belly, staring at it. It was sharing with me. The first thing it said was, listen, child. He kept saying that. And I met a lot of animals, but they weren't it. Like the snake came first, and then I met a bunch of other animals, and then the snake came again and again. And yeah, it said some other things, but I don't remember it.
That's okay. I understand.
It said, I'm not embarrassed about this part. It said to have courage because I'm going to teach you timing when to strike. And then it showed me striking a mouse. Giving you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not evil.
No.
I was like, wait.
No, the lower world is compassionate, loving beings. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah?
I don't know if anyone had my experience, but I was, I think, kept in the, being kept patient, because I didn't meet an animal or anything that significant. In fact, I got to a place that was kind of barren, not wastelandy barren. It was definitely a forest, but kind of devoid of animals, like in that Alien movie when they find the planet and there's like nothing living there. A little bit like that.
Well, that's very common too. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a couple tries. Anyone else? Any questions? Yes?
We got a little bit of a taste of, because I had a question before we started, but then we started. But it was like how long it takes for the brain to entrain into that theta, and how long that takes, because we got to feel a little bit of that, but does it just keep going deeper? Does it plateau off? Do you have a feeling for that, or how long it usually typically takes to properly?
It depends on the person, of course, how practiced they are with sort of changing their state. If somebody has practice with yoga or meditation or entheogens, that they're kind of used to changing their state. So it really is a personal thing, and I would say that sometimes you don't notice that you're going into the state. And sometimes you don't even notice that you were in it until a while later. So even though you're back, you've come back into ordinary reality, don't be surprised if, maybe sometime later you look back and you go, wow, that was really something different. Because I've had that happen. You don't quite realize how much of an altered state you were in until later. But I have heard that it can take, Westerners that don't have any experience 11 minutes to go into it. So this was a briefer journey, like I said, for a group setting for a short time. And also, so when I journey now, it's generally, 5 minutes. The apprentice circles, the journeys that we did, usually 6 to 8 minutes. So 12 minutes is kind of somewhere in between a really long journey and an experienced journey, or what they would do. Because you are going with a specific intention. It's not just to kind of, see. It is to see what happens, but you're going there for a reason. Yeah. Other questions?
How often do you meet at the apprentice?
We met every other week. And I was actually the only one that completed the full apprenticeship. A lot of other people that dropped out over the years. And now I'm in the elder circle, and we lead the community. We deal with, community issues. We do healing on each other, and we also meet every other week, and it's fantastic. I love it. So if you've met a spirit animal, you may be wondering, well, now what? So there's a few possibilities. You can, meditate on your spirit animal, periodically see if it has more to give you, more to tell you, more for you to feel with it. You can look for signs of it in the physical world if it's, one of those kind of animals that you would find those, although you never know what you're going to find. And you can read about it. There's lots of books and things online about animals, their habits in ordinary reality, and also their spiritual powers. And spirits communicate with us in many ways, including books and internet. So if you read something that resonates with you, that goes along with the message that you received, deepens it, then that could be a message for you. On the other hand, your relationship with your spirit animal is totally personal. So nobody in a book or on the internet can tell you what your relationship with whatever animal means for you, okay? So it goes both ways in that way. You can dance your animal. That's a fun thing. You know, pretend that you're that animal. See how that feels. Try that on for size. Yeah. So those are some possibilities. So another role of shamans is to lead ceremonies. And what always happens, or almost always happens in a ceremony, is a song, singing. So I'm actually going to lead us in a song, and it goes like this. The first line, it's a very simple song. It goes, love, acceptance, authenticity. So everyone say that. Love, acceptance, authenticity. Good. And the second line is much shorter, or not much shorter. It's, you say it, it takes longer to say, but it's not really longer. It goes, peace, justice, harmony. So everyone sing that. Peace, justice, harmony. And now let's stand up and get into a circle. And come on closer. And let's hold hands with the person next to us. Yeah, with the person here. Come on in. Okay, so I'm going to sing it through once more, just so you remember it, and then we'll all sing it together twice. Love, acceptance, authenticity, peace, justice, harmony. Love, acceptance, authenticity, love, justice, harmony. Love, acceptance, authenticity, peace, justice, harmony. Love, acceptance, authenticity, peace, justice, harmony. Awesome. Does anybody want to do another one?
Sure. Yeah. We sounded good.
Yeah, we did sound good. Okay. This one goes, it starts spiraling into the center.
Start spiraling into the center.
The center of the wheel.
The center of the wheel.
I am the weaver, I am the woven one.
I am the weaver, I am the woven one.
I am the dreamer, I am the dream.
I am the dreamer, I am the dream.
Okay, so I'm going to put the first two lines together and have you repeat it. Spiraling into the center of the wheel. Spiraling into the center of the wheel. And I'll repeat the next two lines and then have you repeat it. I am the weaver, I am the woven one. I am the dreamer, I am the dream. I am the weaver, I am the woven one. I am the dreamer, I am the dream. Now we'll see if we can all sing it, the whole thing, twice together. Spiraling into the center of the wheel. I am the weaver, I am the woven one. I am the dreamer, I am the dream. Spiraling into the center of the wheel. I am the weaver, I am the woven one. I am the dreamer, I am the dream. Awesome. All right, thanks so much, you guys. So go ahead and feel your feet on the ground. Oh, we're not done. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your connection with the circle of life, the circle of strength. And we thank any and all of our helping spirits that were with us here tonight. We thank our ancestors. We thank this place, the spirits of this place. Give those hands a squeeze. Take your hands to your own heart. And thank yourself for being here. Thank yourself for being brave and taking a chance. And thank your animal spirit. And namaste. Thank you. You're welcome.
Can I just say a couple words? Thank you so much.